Getting into the live music world can seem overwhelming at first when it comes to all the different types of gear you can use on stage. From wireless mic systems to in-ear monitors, it can just seem like a whole other realm in this music universe. Now, luckily in today's age, we have gear that is not only budget friendly, but it sounds great, it's easy to use, and you get more of a bang for your buck thanks to all the technological advances that have happened in the music world. So in today's video, I'll be taking a deep dive into the Phenyx Pro PTM-33 wireless in-ear monitor system. Phenyx reached out to me to do a review of it on my channel. I've heard really good things about Phenyx and their budget-friendly gear for musicians, so I'm really excited to check it out. Now, at the end of this video, if you're really into it and you want to save a little extra money and also support me and my channel, there'll be some links in the description for you to get that discount. There will also be time codes below for you to skip around if there's certain things that you really want to learn about this system. Be my guest if you want to do that, but I'm now going to go over what comes inside the box. All right, so this is what the box shall look like. We got all the things that are featured within it. So we got our manual. Oh, a sticker. Can never go wrong with a sticker. I will go over this manual a little later. All right, so we got 2 antennas. We have the full unit. Now it's pretty light, but also pretty sturdy. It's not loose, it's built pretty well. It's not using any plastic or cheap plastic or anything like that, which is really, really great. So this will definitely handle life on the road for sure. Going on down to the next layer, they even give you batteries. Now that is a beautiful thing. Now we're taking a look at our receivers. There are 4 of them. We got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Here's what they look like. Now we got a nice little power adapter to power our unit. We got these for the rack mount, which is really, really nice. Really great that they gave you these. Then in here is where the good stuff is. This is where we get our earbuds, which is insane that they actually give you them. We have 4 different earbuds. Then we have screws for the rack mounts, extra cables for the antennas, and things like that. Now that is everything that is included within this unit. Getting a pair of in-ear monitor headphones can cost you anywhere between like 80 to over $100. So the fact that they give you 4 of them, you get 4 transmitters and a whole unit for under $500. It's a good deal. I'm gonna get into all the knobs, buttons, screens, and just the overall functionality in a second. But first I wanna get into all the important details and specs. So the battery life will last you up to 6 hours. Now, if you're playing like pretty big shows and you're playing from like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, I would still replace the batteries after every show just in case. But if you remember to turn them off when you're not using them and things like that, I mean, they could easily last you a couple shows. But it's always good to play it safe and always bring extra batteries with you just in case. For the wireless range that you have, so as far as you can walk away from that unit, it's about 164 feet or 50 meters. Now I'd keep it a little bit of a shorter distance than that just to play it safe. But if you need to go that little extra step further, then you can. So you sort of have to give yourself that room. But around 160 feet is plenty. The frequency response is from 50 hertz to 16 kilohertz. The frequency range operates in like the 902 to 928 frequency range. I keep saying frequency range. And then the transmitter output level is 10 dPm. Those specs are kind of for like the super nerds who are really into this kind of stuff. They'll understand it. If you don't, it's not the biggest deal. But learning this stuff can be helpful. Maybe I will make another video talking about that stuff. I'll now get into all the functionality, knobs, and buttons on the system. Let's now take a look at the back of the PTM-33. So we have stereo inputs and outputs. So there's tons of different ways you can connect to this. Now, as it's shown, we have channel 4, channel 3, channel 2, and channel 1. You can connect 4 outputs from your mixer to each channel, so you have 4 different mixes. That is the usual route you would take. Now, you could also use that other input as well for whatever else you really wanted in your mix, whether that be a click or another instrument, but it's not necessary. You just have more options. Now, it is a mono system. Don't get that confused. It's not a stereo system. So you really only need to plug it into the mono input. And then, like I said, you can use those other things for whatever else you would really need it for, but it's not necessary. And then of course we have our antenna hookups. Moving on to the front of this system, it's pretty easy to understand and navigate. Now we got the power button all the way over here to the left. Now we have two main screens here. The first has the first and second mix channel, whatever you want to call it, and then the third and fourth mix and channel. Each of these sections is for each musician or mix, and you also have volume controls for each of them as well. So if we have musician 1 here and their volume is too low, you can just bring that up with the volume knob. Let's say musician 3 volume is too loud, we can just bring that down as well. Now for each section, we have group and channel controls. Now for each group and channel controls, this sets the frequency. Now every wireless pack has a frequency that it needs to transmit on. So you can change both the group and the channel to whatever you need it to be by pressing each corresponding button. So now we're in group 2, group 3, back to group 1. And then for channel, we were channel 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and back to 1. So let's say we need to go to group 3 and channel 4. That's how you would do that. Now for each transmitter pack, when you turn it on, it will show which group and channel it is set to. Now, if it's not set to any group or channel, you can sync it to whichever mix you are going to need to hear from any of these 4 sections or mixes. Now let's say that this transmitter pack needs to be synced to the third mix. You simply just press whatever mix you want, and then you hold it in front of that pack, and then voila, you are now on that third mix. It's really as simple as that, and you can do this to any of the other mixes. Now, if you look here on the screen, RF on the top right-hand corner shows how strong your signal is, and we have the strongest signal right now. Now, as we know, being a musician, tons of things go wrong. So let's say, as an example, the guitarist's mix is the first one, the singer's the second, the bass is the third, and the drummer is the fourth. Each person will sync their own packs to each corresponding mix. Now let's say that each is all synced up, but the drummer and guitar player mixed up their packs when they were backstage or whatever. They could simply just switch packs, but if they can't, each person can simply resync with a touch of a button, place this in front of it, and then voila, you're all good to go. Also on our transmitter screens, we have battery life, which is very, very, very helpful. Also featured is our level meter that will be next to the AF on the top left-hand corner. Now that is just our overall level of our mix that will be both on our transmitter and on the unit wherever our mix is on. Now right here is where we would plug in our in-ear monitors. It's got a little strap on the back, so you can strap this on the back of your pants, shirt, or whatever. And we can also control the volume of our in-ear mix on the pack itself, so we don't have to run over to this unit, which is super, super helpful and a really great feature. I now want to get into a couple of things, both good and not necessarily bad, but something that I should bring to your attention. The great thing about this system is that it's only one unit for 4 receivers. So it's only going to take up 1 rack mount space or 1 system space, because if you had 4 separate receivers, you would also have 4 separate units. So like I said, this just saves space on rack mounts, and it's just a lot more convenient to have control of it on 1 unit. Now, something that I definitely should have talked about, I don't know why I haven't talked about it yet, is how it sounds in your ear. The audio, the mix in my ears was really nothing different from what I have heard in in-ear monitor systems before. Even when I've played gigs without a wireless system and with just a cable, I mean, they both sounded the same to me. And this goes back to the technology just being crazy these days. Portable units like this can give you just as a high quality sound as those higher ticket items. Now there is something to talk about when it comes to the frequency range. Like I said earlier when I was going over all the specs, the frequency range is from 902 to 927. Each channel has its own frequency range that is split in between each channel. Each channel has its own frequency range, but it splits that full range 902 to 927 into 4 different sections. For example, channel A will go from 902 to 908. Channel B will go from 908 to 914, etc. I will say, it would be really nice to have that full frequency range because you have more frequency options, obviously, and a lot less limitations. Now, you really can't complain about this too much since it's a budget-friendly unit, but if I was spending upwards of like $800 to $1,000, then this probably would be an issue for me. So you will have less frequency range, around 6 megahertz to be exact. And if you don't understand that kind of stuff, basically, that's the range you have to find a clear signal for your in-ear monitors. Of the whole mix, of the different frequency ranges, things like that. So the bigger the range you have, the more room you have for a clear signal. More expensive units have larger ranges, but this is really the only limitation you'll come across with this system. And for most beginners or people just getting into this sort of thing, this won't be a really big issue at all. It's not a huge deal. It's just something that I thought I should talk about and tell you in this video. Now, I've also heard about dropouts happening with more budget-friendly systems, which is basically just like a dropout of audio for like a split second. But when I tried these out, I actually had zero issues with this, and neither did the other drummer or guitar player. Now, granted, I did only use 3 out of the 4 receivers, so maybe it could be more likely to happen when you're using all 4. And even so, the dropouts are super quick and they happen in an instant, so it's not gonna last longer than a second or 2. So here are my final and honest thoughts. It's a great basic system for bands starting to play slightly more bigger shows, and it will no doubt get the job done for what you're trying to use it for. Now, you're really not gonna need any of those crazy features that are offered in more higher budget systems, but eventually, if you're playing bigger shows, you're adding more members to the band, things like that, then maybe you can move on to that higher budget. But the PTM-33 is just a perfect introduction into this live music in-ear monitor world. And it's also very affordable, especially if you're gonna split it between your bandmates. I'm 1000% going to use this when I do my live shows for my music and when I'm playing with my friends and other bands and artists. It's also really simple to use. The layout is not complicated whatsoever, and it really doesn't take long at all to become a proficient user. And you can also get it a little cheaper with the link in the description. Now, obviously, the more expensive stuff, you get more features, you get a little bit more high quality, you get more sturdiness of the systems, of the units, and everything included, but nothing extremely different. At the end of the day, the PTM-33 is just a great buy and well worth the price tag. Now, let me know what your thoughts are on this system or wireless in-ear monitors in general down in the comments below. If you have any other questions about it, feel free to ask as well. I'll try and answer them to the best of my abilities. And thank you as always for watching, and I will see you in the next video.